Hotep, beloved sisters and brothers. This is Chief Elder Osiris of the Pan-African International Movement and the Sankofa Repatriation Movement, bringing to you more divine information about that most sacred issue, reparation. Now, you hear talk coming from the various politicians running for president on the scene today. And I'm here to let you know that do not be persuaded by the promises and the talk that you hear coming from those politicians about reparation, especially when they are implying that if you elect them, they will see to it that you get a reparation check. I have forewarned you and informed you that reparation in its purest form, reparation as reference the event of child enslavement of our enslaved African ancestors, has nothing to do with an individual check being paid to Black African people in America. So do not be overly excited when you hear those politicians implying that they will give you or is in favor of reparation, and they come up with a price tag attached to reparation. We have not gotten that far yet. As a matter of fact, Black folk have not gotten to the point whereby we fully understand the gravity and importance of reparation. I'm speaking about the reparation that is connected to our enslaved African ancestors who went through the horror of child slavery. Now, you have Marianne Williamson, who have come up with a figure of between $200 to $500 billion. When you're dealing with the true essence and the sacredness of our enslaved African ancestors' reparation, $200 to $500 billion is nothing but an insult to our enslaved African ancestors and to the event of child slavery. It's going to require a hell of a mathematicians and an agreement coming from the children of those enslaved African ancestors about what is an intelligent figure to be accepted in behalf of our enslaved African ancestors regarding reparations. So what Marianne Williamson needs to do, and she seemed to be the most sincere of the others that are just throwing out hints to you about being in favor of reparation when they know they don't have the ass on reparation, just trying to win your vote. But there's something about Miss Williamson that I would give my attention to. But what she needs to do is to sit down with me and we have a really broad, honest discussion about that event, child slavery, and about the reparations our enslaved African ancestors earned while going through that fiery furnace of child slavery. If she is willing to sit with me and we have an honest discussion about reparation, then I might be almost persuaded to see her as someone that can be an asset to us dealing with reparation in its purest sense and form. But not unto them. You have so many talking about reparation today. They have their own spin as to what reparation is to mean to them. But we, as the children of those enslaved African ancestors, have not the right of putting a spin on something we had nothing to do about and bringing it to become an honest debt that is owed to our enslaved African ancestors. Our enslaved African ancestors are the ones that went through all of that hell that America took them through in order for us, the children of those enslaved African ancestors, to be and advocate in their behalf of a debt American owe to our enslaved African ancestors. So do not be persuaded or do not be convinced when you hear many talking about a reparation that has to do more with civil rights than freedom. Because the divine reparation has to do with our enslaved African ancestors and freedom, justice, and independence for Africa and Black African people everywhere. So let us be conscious of the fact that so much is going on in America at this particular time, until if you're not careful, you're going to get run over by the herds of lies and acts of deception that is being thrown out about all kinds of issues they are giving with false meaning to. They have succeeded in getting you to become desensitized towards the issue of racism. They mention nothing about that most evil, powerful behavior of prejudiceness. They have you to believe that racism is something that is based on a conversation, based on a claim by words of mouth. Not so, beloved sisters and brothers. It's more to racism than what the racist is having you to believe about. But I'm not going to get into that right now. I just thought I would come on to let you know that there are many out there who are rising up now. Many who look just like us, carrying the same pigment that we do, talking about a reparation that pertains to civil rights. You know that is not the divine reparation that I share with you about. Anybody who comes up talking about their far reparation and does not include its twin, repatriation, you know is a phony. They're only trying to deceive you. They're only doing something to have you to become falsely emotional involved about, so that they can have sway with you in terms of trying to reach their secret goal of trying to win monetary benefit off of the enslavement of our African ancestors. Do not allow them to do that, my beloved sisters and brothers. I stand ready to discuss the true issue of reparation with anybody, because I know what the true meaning and purpose of reparation is all about, and I will not bend, nor will I compromise that divine issue, which our enslaved African ancestors went through so much in order to develop a debt for America to pay to our enslaved African ancestors. So be not deceived and be not dismayed, for all it takes for us to have America to pay the debt that is owed to our enslaved African ancestors, which is repatriation, is for us to get up off our behind, become organized, become well informed about the true meaning and essence of repatriation, and then you will see that beloved issue, that sacred issue, being dealt with more respect than it is being dealt with today. So remember, anybody who's coming to you with a price tag on reparation, and you know there has not been any meeting going on between the descendants of those African ancestors to discuss the plans and the strategy and the requirement of what it's going to take to bring a resolution to the race issue around that particular event, child slavery. So I'm just here to let you know that I'm here, and all who so desire to know about the true meaning of reparation, I invite you to contact me, to sit down with me, and hear exactly what I have to say about that sacred issue. Hotep.